down and dirty tactics after a several-year break. We're getting back into it with squad patrolling. In reality, patrolling is just the culmination of everything that's been taught up to this point, applied per the situation. There's three types of patrols. You have combat patrols, recon patrols, and contact patrols, and we'll go into each one of those briefly. First, combat patrols are those patrols seeking to make contact with the enemy and accomplish some form of mission, be it destroy, disrupt, or deter. You also have recon patrols, which have the purpose of attempting to locate the enemy. And finally, you have contact patrols. Contact patrols can also be oriented on friendly forces as well as enemy forces. When they're oriented on enemy forces, they're similar to a recon patrol, but the purpose of them is to make contact with the enemy and maintain contact with the enemy. There's several reasons that a patrol might do this, but we'll not go into those at this time. For friendly-oriented contact patrols, their purpose is to make contact and do a physical, verbal, or radio link-up with a friendly unit. Now, if you want to think about a patrol in the simplest terms, it's any time a military unit is leaving a friendly position to go somewhere else. Really, that's it. A combat patrol, recon patrol, and a contact patrol can all be applied to those situations, but really any movement by a friendly unit, even if it's a movement to an attack position, is a patrol in itself. That would be an example of a combat patrol. What most people think of when they think of patrolling is a unit going outside the wire trying to find the enemy and attack or destroy them. That would be another example of a combat patrol. No matter the size of the unit, be it a squad, platoon, company, or even a battalion-sized patrol, yes, there can be battalion-sized patrols, you're going to have overall the similar structure. You're going to have a patrol leader, an assistant patrol leader, a navigation man or navigation section, a pace count man or a pace count section, and a point man. Now, obviously, when you get into company and battalion-sized patrols, some of those sections might get fairly large, and there might be subsections to those sections, but we're going to focus at the squad and really platoon level for these patrol classes. Now, your patrol leader is going to be the person overall in charge of the patrol, be that the squad leader, the platoon commander, or the company commander, however large the patrol is. They're ultimately responsible for the success or failure of the patrol, they're responsible for the overall planning of the patrol, and they're responsible for the execution. Your assistant patrol leader is going to be the one that's secondary in command. They're going to take over if the patrol leader is taken out. And in addition to that, they're responsible for some of the extraneous duties of the patrol. Ideally, the assistant patrol leader is maintaining accountability of the patrol at all times to make sure that nobody gets lost. This is especially important at night because at night it's harder to keep track of people, and one, you don't want anybody to get lost or separated, and two, you don't want an enemy to join the back of the patrol. Especially at night, this is very important because if you leave the wire with 12 individuals and suddenly you have 13, it's most likely that an enemy infiltrator may be inside your patrol ready to conduct an inside attack. Typically, also, your assistant patrol leader is going to be responsible for the medical functions of that patrol. Not necessarily be the medic or corpsman themselves, but they'll be responsible for the employment of the medic or corpsman as well as the execution of the medical plan. Next up, you've got the navigation section or the navigation man. You're going to want to make sure this is separate from your pace count man. Both activities require a great deal of attention, and you don't want them to mix up or lose track of one of those two things. It's incredibly important for the navigation. If you're using GPS navigation for your patrol, then it's a little bit less important, but it's still immensely important in case your patrol loses a GPS signal. That navigation man is going to be overall responsible for the movement of the patrol. While the patrol leader is responsible for the patrol itself, that nav man is the actual person in execution that is steering the patrol. He's usually going to be up front, but you don't want them to be the point man either. The point man needs to be focusing 100% on the front section of the patrol. Next up is the pace count man, who's responsible for tracking the distance covered. This is immensely important when you're doing dead reckoning navigation, which means you're following a direct azimuth for a certain distance and then making a different turn. When you're using GPS navigation, the paceman is not as important. However, it is still important just in case your GPS goes down or you don't have good GPS coverage. And last, we have the point man, who everyone is usually fairly familiar with. The point man's overall responsible for the front 180-degree security of the patrol. He's the one out front. He's the one with his attention 100% focused on finding any enemy threats in front of the patrol. He's also responsible for watching for booby traps. This is why it's very important for him not to be in navigation, not to be a pace, and not to have any other responsibilities other than 100% focus on making sure the squad does not walk into an ambush. Now, like any mission, there's going to be several steps of preparation for a patrol. First, once you know that you're going to be going on a patrol, as the patrol leader, you need to give your guys a warning or a warning order. This is essentially everything that you know that is important to the patrol. Typically, the patrol leader is going to give this to the assistant patrol leader. It should include details such as the mission, generally what kind of a route you're going to take if you know already. If you don't know, any details relating to location. It should also include details such as special equipment taken, any kind of loadout, how long you expect to be gone for. That way your assistant patrol leader can start planning some of the logistics of the patrol. Once the warning order is out, the assistant patrol leader should take that and start getting the patrol ready for combat and ready to execute the mission that the patrol leader is about to give. This will give the patrol leader time to get any intelligence he needs about the mission and start planning. He needs to go over route selection, so bring up a map, any information or pictures that he has, aerial pictures or satellite, and start working on a route that'll complement the actual purpose of the patrol. Now, when going over route selection, remember Murphy's laws. The easy route is always mined. While this might not actually be a physical mine or minefield, think about when you were planning squad ambushes, or if you would try to plan a squad ambush in this situation. Where are you going to put that ambush? It's going to be someplace on an easy route, so an easy avenue of approach, but with wide open fields of fire. While those might be fast routes to take, it's probably going to most likely be the places that you're going to get ambushed or take enemy contact. So avoid open areas and avoid roads or creek beds that are going to be linear features. Once you've got your route selection and all the other details of the mission, you're going to throw together a quick mission brief and brief the patrol on what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they're going to do it. All your subordinate team leaders should be doing their pre-combat checks, which is essentially just going through making sure that all the equipment that you're supposed to have, you do have, that nothing's exceptionally loud. This usually includes a jump test to listen for any clanking metal or anything rattling. After the pre-combat checks, just before you step off, the patrol leader and the assistant patrol leader are going to do their pre-combat inspections. It might not be of every patrolman, but it's essentially a second pre-combat check to make sure that everybody knows, so knowledge check, knows where they're going and what the mission is, as well as has the equipment that they need. Now, just as we talked about before in squad attacks and squad ambushes and pretty much any other mission, there's these things called tactical coordination measures, TCMs. They're essentially just imaginary things that we put on a map to help us plan and help us execute that plan. Some of the ones most important to a patrol are going to be the line of departure, also known as the LD, checkpoints, rally points, and link up points if you're using a contact patrol where you're attempting to link up with a friendly unit. The line of departure. The easy way to think about this is the last point along your route where you're essentially safe. It's after you pass the line of departure, you are dedicated to the mission and you are no longer safe. You're in enemy held territory. If you've got a patrol base where it's already inside enemy territory, the LD is essentially when you leave that patrol base. However, if you're deep inside friendly lines, that LD might not be until you pass the furthest most unit. It's going to change no matter what the mission. Then you have checkpoints. Checkpoints are pretty obvious. It's not a physical checkpoint that somebody's got set up on a road. It's just a place that you're either going to move to or move to where you can see it before you move on with the next step of your route. Now, when you're planning checkpoints, these aren't just necessarily arbitrary grid coordinates. You want to use them to help your navigation. So you're going to use easily recognizable terrain features. This could be a crossing of a road, a very recognizable stream crossing, or it could be some kind of terrain feature, a rock outcropping that you know is there, etc. That way you can double check yourself not just with a GPS, but visually see like, okay, I am at the correct checkpoint. It's important to note that you don't have to physically occupy a checkpoint along your route. A checkpoint could be that road crossing, but you don't want to actually walk along the road. So just to sanity check yourself, maybe your route comes near a road, you know there is a road crossing there, so you make that a checkpoint. And when your patrol is actually executing the route, you just visually check to make sure that you're at that location. You can have rally points, just like a objective rally point is the final rally point prior to reaching an objective. You can add rally points into a patrol. These can be pre-planned with obvious terrain features, so it's easy to come back to if you're separated from the patrol, or they can be hasty rally points where you just designate an area along the patrol route while you're physically there that this is a rally point. It identifies an area that patrol members will come back to if they're separated. And then finally, we have link up points. Link up points are just pre-planned points where we expect to link up with a friendly unit. Now, as we've already gone over, there's several different formations for patrolling. Typically, you're going to see a column formation, a file formation, or a wedge formation. The column is very quick. It's the most common formation used for patrol, but it's not very flexible to enemy contact. The file is really only used for immensely decreased visibility conditions, so very, very heavy rain and mist, or at night, or in very, very, very thick vegetation. It is immensely susceptible to attack, however. And then third, we have the wedge. Wedges are very hard to maintain throughout an entire patrol, especially if you're covering a lot of ground, but they're very secure. And that's essentially it for patrolling. Each patrol is going to have a different purpose. A combat patrol is going to be seeking out enemy contact. So really, you're going to be executing immediate action drills, which we've already covered, if you make enemy contact. Or you'll identify an enemy position before they know you're there, and you'll execute an ambush. It just use the building blocks we've already covered. For reconnaissance patrols, usually you're attempting to identify an enemy position, so really you're not seeking to make enemy contact. You'll usually pre-plan ahead of time what to do if you do make enemy contact, which is essentially just an immediate action drill. Otherwise, you're attempting to remain unseen and report on enemy movements. And finally, for contact patrols, it's going to vary depending on the type of contact patrol. If it's enemy oriented, it's essentially going to be you're going to execute an immediate action drill, or you're going to lay an ambush and then maintain contact with that force for a specific reason, maybe so you can guide a larger friendly force in to destroy that force. For a friendly oriented contact patrol, that's usually going to be where you're attempting to link up with them. You're going to try to make visual, audio, or radio contact with them, and then execute a link up so you don't shoot each other.